Hi, welcome to Villages 365.
I'm Jan.
And I'm Debbie. And this is part 2 of our big fat book.
From Newcomer's Guide 2022 to 2023.
So in case you missed the first part, probably want to go back and listen to it. It's not like you need to hear it. It's not like this isn't the sequel. But what we are sharing with you is the Villages newspaper delivered a couple weeks ago, this big fat book. That's how bad it is. And it has tons of good information in there. So whether you are a new villager, thinking about being a villager, or an experienced villager.
That's right. And
This has some good
there's things that
information.
even I learn, and we've been around the villages for a long time. So
Yes. So it's very interesting. So we're going to pick up with the clubs. So one of the things that I found interesting was, and I was always told this, but I never really saw anything in writing about it, is, oh, there's all these clubs, and if you can't find one, start one. Well, according to this, it says more than 3,100 lifestyle clubs. And then there's the equal number of coordinators because the residents coordinate their own clubs. So this
Right,
is not
yeah.
something run by the villages. You're
Mhm.
usually in one of the rec centers or in an area for that, but they're not actually being run by the
by
villages.
the villages.
So that's pretty cool. That's a lot of people. So you can do all sorts of things. You can do sports clubs. You could do, like, I know there's a Corvette club here because one of my friends does
Yeah,
that.
a lot of car clubs, different cars.
Yeah.
There's a convertible club,
Mm-hmm.
bike clubs, Segway clubs.
Yeah, I did see them.
Yeah,
They go up
yeah.
and down the pass
Yeah.
sometimes.
For a
So
while they were giving rides like over by Barnes and Noble, but that might have become a liability in case somebody falls off, which would be me. I wouldn't even try it.
yeah, those things would make me nervous,
Yeah.
but they look fun.
But just quirky, weird clubs because someone has an interest, and then they find someone else that has an interest, and coloring, pencil drawing, pencil colors.
Anything.
Yep.
So it says how to join a club. Each week, the Village's Recs and Department publication offers, and we do get I think it's Thursday, the Parks and Rec magazine in the paper. And it shows all of the club information and the contact information if you wanted to be involved in that particular club. If you can't find a club that suits you best, villagers have the opportunity to start their own groups and clubs with ease. To start a new resident lifestyle group, visit districtgov.org or go to quick links and then click on any of the rec complexes. It's either, because they only have these in certain spots, La Hacienda, Fenny, Easel, or Seabreeze. So if you click on any of those, and then it'll tell you how to start your own club.
Yep.
So pretty easy.
Maybe we should start one.
What will we start?
I don't know. I'll have to think about that. I don't have a lot of talent.
I don't have a lot of time
That's true.
because I do ding dong things on my own.
Yeah.
That Jan laughs at me about, but that's okay. So the schools here is something that people have a lot of questions about. You have a high school. I thought this was a retirement community.
Yeah.
Like, what a joke. It's actually a charter school, and it's one of the top in the state.
Yes.
And the reason that they did this initially was because you're in a retirement community. We all want to have our hair cut and go to the bank and be able to do whatever. We want to be able to
Go to the doctor.
Go to
the
anything like that.
Yeah.
So somebody needs to work here because we don't want to do it. That's why we came down here. We don't want to
We're
do it.
retired.
So what they ended up doing was to induce people to come and work at the villages. Your child gets to enroll if you are employed by the villages, and then they have partnership programs, and that gets a little bit more complicated. But anyway, working for the villages, your kids can automatically get in, and then if you're in the partnership program, your kid may also be able to get in. It's a very good charter school. It goes all the way from early learning up through high school.
Yep.
They're building a second one down south.
Yep.
And I don't know how they're doing the campuses, though. I still haven't read.
I heard they're putting an indoor pool down there, or their own pool, because right now they use
They use Laurel Manor, I think,
Yes.
for the swim
Yes.
for the swim teams.
for the swim team.
Yeah.
And I heard that they're going to have their own pool, and it's going to be quite the campus.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really big. So, but they do have the Buffalo Pride in that people around the villages have time, and so they are donating their time quite frequently and their resources. And so it's a way for you to support the high school, if that's still your interest. I know that the football games and stuff, a ton of villagers go. They go like it's their own kids
Yeah,
playing.
I mean, all the sports, the basketball and that,
baseball, all
and
of
they
them.
like to watch the kids plays and all the different bands, pep band, all that. They go. They're usually at the Sharon. That's where they
okay.
perform, and choirs and stuff like that. And the villagers are very good about going
Supporting.
to some of that stuff
Mm-hmm.
because your grandkids aren't here, so you might as well
Support someone
Yeah.
else's.
be a grandparent for someone else from afar.
And the other thing that they do ask is that, because I know I volunteered the first year I came here, I helped coach the village's tennis team. So there are a lot of villagers that donate their time that way. They will coach different teams. They will help tutor, mentor, all of that. So if you have a talent and a gift and you're bored, reach out to the charter school, because I'm sure that they could use your help.
Always use a volunteer.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to volunteer there. So then, as far as the villages itself, so there's some misnomers about the system here, I guess you would say. So the villages, so when we refer to the villages, we're talking about the developer. So the Morse family and their corporation, they own all of the championship golf courses, okay? And they also own the property on the squares and all of that, okay? The vendors rent from the villages. So that any of the stores you see, those places on the squares are renting from the villages, okay? So a lot of people think that we as residents are paying for the entertainment on the squares. That is not true. That is paid by the county. And so what ends up happening is, I'm sure we all contribute in our own ways, but the county actually has like a tourism fund, and that's what they use in order to pay those bands. And that's where the money's coming from for that. So that's why the public is allowed to come and use our amenities. The Villages owns the Golf Academy, so that's down in Sarasota. And you guys take lessons there, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we used to take them at Palmer, but they've moved everything down to Sarasota. And sometimes they have a golf package where you can, get your 6 lessons for less than 1 apiece, and that's a good way to mess up your golf game, because then you find out what you're doing wrong, and then you try to fix it. I had that struggle the other day.
Or your husband just watches YouTube and says, "This is how you should be hitting it."
Yeah, he does
I'm
that
like,
too.
Okay. But they also own the championship tennis courts. So throughout the villages, you will find, I don't even remember, I don't think they put that in there, how many hard court tennis courts there are in the villages, but there's a lot. And then there are 2 places that we have hard true tennis courts, and that's like the clay, and that's at Glenview and Lopez. Okay, so the hard courts are all the recs. That's all the rec centers, free to everybody, anybody can use them, etc., etc. The clay courts are only through Glenview and Lopez, and if you wanted to play, you would need to book it through Glenview. They take care of everything for both sets of courts. There's 10 courts, and if you play USTA League or you're looking for USTA League, those have to be played out of Glenview. Okay, that is owned by the villages. That is not owned by the residents. So again, outside people are welcome to come. You can come play if you live in wherever, Wildwood, Leesburg, Bellevue, Ocala, Gainesville, doesn't matter. Anybody's welcome. And there is a charge, of course, for that. So the villages, the developer, own all the golf courses. So again, outsiders are welcome to play there, okay? The executive courses is not the case. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Well, and you can't make a tee time if you don't live in the villages, but you can call and snag an open tee time. And I think their thoughts are, we're not getting the money for when people aren't playing, and you might play a couple of these courses and go, ooh, I really like these, and I think I'll move to the villages. So
and they pay handily for that, though. I'll bet they pay $20 maybe more, around $30 maybe more around than we do.
Yeah,
so they pay.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people that like to kind of check it
Try
out.
different places.
Yeah.
Yep. So in contrast to that, the executive courses, all of our 9-hole courses are for villages only, or villagers only. And
Or
those
if
are,
they have guests.
well, yeah, or your guests. So anything we're entitled to, our guests are entitled to, but you have to get a guest pass.
Yes.
And you do that through the, there's a website and everything. If you have questions, just let us know and we can give you the information for that. But, so the executive courses, the only cost there would be is if you wanted to take your golf cart, there's a trail fee, or you can purchase a package of the trail fee for the year. You can do it either way, and it's just one per household, so you're not paying per golfer or anything like
right.
that. It's for your household. So if you want to play the executives a lot and you want to take your golf cart, probably pays for you to put the we're hearing the golfers, but it probably pays for you to purchase the package, the trail fee package. But otherwise, I think it's $4 every time that you use it. If you want to walk, you walk for free.
Yeah.
But no one from the outside the villages can use those courses. Those are strictly for villages residents.
Right, and I think the trail fee helps maintain the trails, or the golf trail out there.
And some of the abuse, I'm sure, that takes place on the course. So a lot of people drive all over it. So those are the things that the villages own versus the owners. Also, one thing that I had heard, there was a little conflict on, we were over at the polo field and somebody said, we have an event, you'll all have to leave, and a woman went off on the poor security guy and said, this is mine, I pay for it, and all this stuff. She doesn't. The villages owns that too. So that's not village resident property. That is village developer property.
So don't use that argument.
Don't use it. He was very nice about, well, I'm sorry, ma'am, you'll still have to leave, but it was an argument where she was wrong.
She's not going to win.
She was wrong. So another couple things that they put in, and these are all newer and down south, but is the like the pitch and putt and the putt and play.
Yeah, there's 2 of those now, isn't there? 2 of those.
The pitch and putt. Okay, so there's a putt and play at Fenny, at Clifton Cove, and at Stars and Stripes.
I don't even know where those are.
Stars and Stripes is by the First Responders. Clifton Cove is by Ezel, and Fenny is in Fenny. And but I think there's 2 pitch and putts, or maybe there's just one now, but they're putting in a second one. Yeah, there's definitely going to be 2. But those are, so the pitch and putt, basically it's like 40 to 110 yards. So you're pretty much bringing, depending on what type of player you're, but maybe a 9-iron or a 7-iron, depending on your your strengths and stuff like that, and your putter. And so it's basically to practice your short game. And then I will say the putt and play, to me, it's kind of like miniature golf without all the obstacles, right?
No clown mouth.
No. We did that. If you watch our video on Fenny, or if you did watch our video on Fenny, you'll see that we go out there and play. And it's basically, they're very long holes to putt.
Right. And they're hard. I mean, they have a turn. They turn. So you have to kind of...
But you can't bank it off the walls like you do in mini golf.
No. There's no boards there.
No. So it's a little bit different.
You can lose it in the bushes. We've lost balls in the bushes.
So, I think I missed a page here. Oh, senior games. So that is something that I didn't know about until I moved here, and I was kind of sucked into it. A lot of the sports, almost all of the sports, have senior games. And so what happens is you can play in them one year, and then every other year they have a national tournament. So you play locally, then you go to state, and then you can represent the state of Florida at the senior games. So it's kind of cool. I think you just have to be over, I think it's just over 50, because I know I played in it like the first year that I came.
You didn't qualify at first,
yeah.
did you? Yeah.
And so I think it's 50 and up. But anyway, it's kind of cool and it's interesting, and they do everything by age though. So you'll be in an age bracket. So it's not by skill level. So you could be an incredible runner. You could be a marathon runner, be able to beat the guy from Jamaica that always wins every year. You could run the New York Marathon in 2 hours.
Boston.
Which would be our Boston Marathon in 2 hours, and you could still compete, because if you're 80, you're competing with the 80-year-olds.
Right.
So,
or if you're 100, you might be the only person there and get a ribbon.
That does happen. That does happen. But I think it's sweet that they're still participating.
I know, yeah.
And they've got all sorts of track events. They've got high jump and long jump and shot put and all the track events.
There's a lot of good athletes here.
Yeah. And I played in the tennis. You could play basketball. I mean, it's, there's probably bicycling.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. Yeah.
So anyway, if it's something that interests you, the Villages is pretty good about putting out the information in the paper, and usually if you're in a sport, you'll find out about it from the people that you play your sports with and everything. But usually you've got to pick up everything at the Hacienda Rec Center over there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be a good place to inquire if you were interested, because they probably know about it. But anyway, it's interesting, and it's fun to watch.
The Villages does really well.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
They bring home a lot of medals.
We got good athletes
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So a lot of retired good athletes. So bowling.
Bowling, yeah. We did a little segment on the bowling alley because they had a big tournament here.
Yeah, on our video on Spanish Springs, we
Yeah.
stopped into the Spanish Springs bowling.
But there are a lot of bowlers there, and there's two bowling alleys close to this area. There's one over there by Target, and there's one off the square. And
Yeah.
I would assume they would be building one down south.
I've not heard anything
I
about
know
that.
it, but-
I do know a lot of the people from the south go. There's a place in Leesburg, and I don't know the
that
name
would
of the
be-
bowling
that would-
alley, but I
yeah,
know a
that
lot
makes
of people
sense, yeah.
from down south. They bowl in the leagues in Leesburg. So, but yeah, the two that are current are in Spanish Springs, and I don't know if it's true or not. I think I read it in the paper, but or somebody might have told me. But I believe that those got sold to the PGA. I think somebody, or the PBA, and I
really?
think that they're taking over the bowling alleys. I think, but anyway,
Rumor.
yeah, it is a rumor. I swear I read it somewhere, but I don't know. I'm old. I don't remember everything. So, softball leagues. There's 19 softball leagues. There are 5 complexes here that handle that. So, the age requirements: men must be 50, women must be 40. You can contact districtgov.org. That's obviously, as you're getting a pattern here, it's a good place to find out information if you need it. But if you want to be in the leagues, what they do is they actually have tryouts. And so it's not that you're not going to make the team, so you don't have that pressure, but it's about which team you're going to be on. And what they're trying to do is keep it competitive for everybody, so you're not
Stacking a team.
having the slaughter rule and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Downside is you might not be playing with your friends. Upside is you're going to meet some new friends.
Yes, yeah,
So-
and a lot of people go watch their friends play.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a afternoon to go. Let's go watch Bob play softball or whatever.
And a friend of mine is in a softball league, and he was mentioning that there's modified rules. Like I think they have a no slide rule. He was saying there's something about tagging. You can't tag people out. You've got to tag the base. Probably they just don't want people pushing people and knocking them over and things like that.
And there are some injuries affiliated with this because you're not used to running full bore.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you hit a really good hit, and then you just like take off, and then you feel something.
Yeah. Hamstrings
Yeah.
are a big injury, and groins and hamstrings are big injuries in softball, just because of what Jan's saying is people aren't used to, and
You
it's
don't think
competitive
about it.
down here.
You don't think
It's
about it. I did that when I was young. I never ran full bore until I joined the church league.
So classes, there are a lot of exercise classes at the different rec centers. So the best thing to do would be to reach out to the rec centers and find out what they have going on there. Or you can check the rec news. So if you're looking for yoga or Pilates or dance class, whatever kind of class you want, look in that
Zumba.
rec news.
A lot of people do Zumba.
Zumba, yep. So just look in the rec news that comes out, I think we said on Thursdays, and so that's a great place to find out where the activity is that you would like to do. So good way to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. And also the MVP, which is not MVP anymore. They have classes too, but you have to be a member. And these you do
To do
not.
it. Yeah, these you don't.
These are free.
And I think they are all free, and they're usually led by villagers. So
Yeah,
they're people that have that expertise.
Yep.
If you want a fitness club, so what is the fitness club? The fitness club is not free to village residents. The fitness club is basically like, you would think of it like your gym, where they've got bicycles and the ellipticals and
Kind of
treadmills.
like the size of a big
and
hotel
weights.
with their fitness centers.
Yes.
It's kind of like that. Maybe 3 or 4 bikes or just a few treadmills and some weights and nice equipment though.
Yeah, nice equipment. So if that's your thing and you don't want to join like the big MVP or whatever, check out. So we have shown a couple of these.
Yeah.
We did Laurel and Fenny.
Right.
But
There's 7 of them.
Yeah, fitness clubs at
Colony, Fenny, Laurel Manor, Mulberry Grove, Rohan, Seabreeze, and
Ezel.
Ezel.
That's the new one down. That's by Southern Oaks.
What's
That's
an
the new
Ezel?
one. That guy. So we
Oh, that's
remember?
right. That's the golfer. My bad. Sorry.
He designed a bunch of the golf courses here.
Yes, because we were just there.
Right. So finding a place to enjoy in nature in the community is just a stone's throw away. So there are some walking paths. There's one. What is that? The Sharon something down by Pine Ridge. There's a walking path, or Sharon. It's like Sharon Weichens or something. It's probably in here. But
Finney has a little walking path.
it does.
Are you talking in the villages or out?
Yeah, in the villages, down by Pine Ridge. There's it says the villages is home to 32 parks, trails, and pathways. So Sharon Rose Weichens, I'm not sure how you say it, but that's down by Pine Ridge, and it's kind of cute. You walk out on a wood deck, basically, and you get to see a lot of wildlife and things like that. It's a great place to watch birds if you're a bird person. It's a great place to either watch or take pictures of birds and things. And now we have the $1 million.
$1 million mile. I think it's really only $870, but it's narrow, so there's a lot of talk about it, and a lot of grumbling about the price.
Yeah.
And I have not been there. We'll have to go do. It's not open yet.
It's not open yet, and I've driven by there.
People are sneaking on there.
We drove by there, and you can see, and the path does look very narrow, but they said it's ADA compliant. I think it's 5 feet wide. They said to do the 8 feet wide, it was going to cost, that was where it was going to get to over $1 million.
1.1 or 1.2, I think.
Yeah, so they cut it down to like 5 feet wide. They said it's ADA compliant. And anyway, but it looks like it's a soft material to walk on. I saw them putting up a bridge. Like if you go down Buena Vista, they're like putting a little bridge, probably over a little creek or something like that. So that'll be up and coming. But if you just like to go for short walks, let's be honest, none of the trails in the villages are
that long.
Very long.
No. Well, and you're talking about maybe a 95-year-old wants to go on a tiny little trail walk, and there you go. But there are a lot of cool trails outside the villages too.
Yes.
We're close to the forest, and there's stuff up by Ocala, Bellevue. I think there's some trails there. There's actually a walking trail club,
and they hit different areas.
Yeah.
And
they have a little T-shirt. It's pretty cute.
So community watch is another thing that there seems to be some misunderstanding about, and I know we had it when we first moved here. Community watch is just that. They are employed by the villages, kind of, are by the residents, basically. They are, I don't want to say they're an amenity, but they're paid by our
fees,
our amenity fees. Yeah,
because they're watching over.
They're volunteer, but what they're supposed to be doing is they drive around. They're supposed to, and I only know this because my husband thought about doing it until they told him he had to work a lot, and then he decided it wasn't the job for him. But they will drive by. I think they said they go down the streets once an hour. They're supposed to go down each street once an hour, and so they all have little beats, kind of like, they're not the police, but if you think of them kind of like that, you'll see them in these community watch cars. The thing that at first we thought they were the ones out there looking for violations. Oh, the bushes are too high. The house is the wrong color. Da 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 da. That is not what their function is.
Although one did stop and tell us our ADT sign was out too far because the landscaper had moved it when they did landscaping, and it's that whole under your eaves thing, and so we didn't even really have ADT. We just had the sign. We were scaring people away.
That's interesting.
So he told us to move it back.
But that's not what they're supposed to be doing. That's not why they're there. They're there to help.
It's been 12 years ago. So
if cars stall out on the road, they get there and they'll help call a tow. Or, if there's an accident, they do sometimes help with traffic direction because we don't have a village's police department. We are county, and so
Sumter County.
So
sheriffs.
Yeah, it's all three. Lake, some of them have Lake, some have Sumter, and some have Marion County Sheriff. So they will sometimes help, like with traffic direction, if there's a bad accident and they just need the assistance. So they're around, and they're supposed to be there for your safety and security. They're not there to be the tattletales. So to clear that up.
And also, like if it's 3 a.m. and your garage door is open, I think they have a list of numbers or through the villages that they'll. Are you home? Did you forget your garage doors open or whatever? Which is kind of nice to know that somebody's checking.
They are double checking.
Yeah.
And they do have a house check program that is let's see, they say it is $5.35 per week. So basically, they'll go around, walk around, check the house, make sure all the doors are locked and everything. So if you are a seasonal person, if you take off, anyway, we all take off from time to time. We have family in other areas.
Yeah.
We go on vacations. That's
Yep.
why we're retired. So anyway, if you aren't home and you want somebody to double check in your house and you're afraid your neighbors or friends are going to get in and drink your booze while you're gone, it's much cheaper for us to pay these guys $5.35 a week than to have them drinking all of our booze while we're gone.
Right.
So
That's why they don't give us a key.
so anyway, but they also staff some of the gates. And
Yeah.
that's also part of their job is they staff the gates, and on the ones that have the gate shacks that they have to let people in and out, they do that. One thing that I think is kind of cool, and I'm going to take a picture of this page and put it in there so you'll be able to see that, but the Villages is really good about letting you know who your elected officials are and how to reach them. In Illinois, it's like I don't think they want to. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want you to know who they are or how to get my phone number. So lose it. So
We're in hiding.
But yeah, here they've got like the president, Joe Biden. Here's his address. Here's comments. Here's the switchboard. Here's how you email him. U.S. senators. Right now we've got Rick Scott and Marco Rubio, and it tells when their term expires, when their office, where their office is, how to email them, what their phone numbers are. I love that because I feel like seriously too often the politicians, if you have an issue and you want to reach them, you have no idea how to get a hold of them. As soon as the election's over, they're gone.
They're somewhere.
Yeah.
Just don't know where.
So that's actually nice in this magazine. And I do see it, though, in the local paper, too, though. They do put that in the Daily Sun.
Yes.
So so another thing to think about with the Villages is how to get out of here. You want to get out of here. So there are a lot of places. Our airports locally, I would say 3. Orlando, Tampa, and Sanford.
Right.
Sanford's kind of a smaller airport, so not everybody goes in and out of there. But
And they're about the
you could.
same amount to go to all of them. I mean, depending on the traffic.
Yeah.
Now that Tampa's 3 lanes all the way over there, that airport's growing. But Orlando, if you're on a good day, you can get there in an hour 10, I think. But you got to be flying.
Yeah. And if you'd like to go cruising, the nice thing about cruising out of the Villages is Port Canaveral is right there, and that's probably like an hour and a half. So nice place to be able to drive and leave your car. And probably you could take, I don't know, you'd have to look into it, but you may be able to take the shuttles in and out there.
Yeah, and they
Actually,
do.
I
And
might
they
even say
do.
this.
Yeah, they do different trips. Like they get you on a bus. They take you to a group, take you to the ship, pick you up, bring you back. So yeah.
Yeah, and there's a thing that's called Workman Transportation, and that's the shuttle. And you can you can arrange for your friends or family to be picked up if you don't feel like going to the airport and paying the $8,000 in tolls on the way down. The cost is $40 per person one way for the airport shuttle service to and from the Villages and Orlando Airport. $15 for home. It says for home service flat rate for up to 3 people. Okay, and I will say, I recommend if you have somebody or some way to get back from one of the squares, that's the way you do it, because we have done the shuttle ourselves door to door. It sounds like it's a great idea until you are the first one on the shuttle at the airport. Yep. And if you live up north, because they hit Brownwood first, then they hit Sumter, and then they hit up
Which
north.
makes sense.
So it's you might be on that shuttle for 2 hours, and I felt bad. My brother, we sent the shuttle one time for him because it was just one person, so like $40.
Yeah.
It's cheap. So he was the first one on. His airplane landed first. He was the first one on. They waited for about 45 minutes for everybody else to get on the shuttle, and then he was one of the last ones off. And I felt so bad because he spent, I think, 3-4 hours on the shuttle. After you've done that on an airplane, that's the last thing that I would do.
Right.
So
And I a lot of people have experienced that they thought that was a cool thing to be picked up, and then once they sat in that van for a long time, they decided not to.
that it wasn't so
Always
fun.
have a neighbor pick you up,
Yeah.
or drop you, because it is cheap.
Yeah.
You think about how much it costs you in gas and tolls, and to park, at the airport. And we park at Park and Go, which is pretty reasonable, but it's still a fee.
Yeah, and so to be clear, there's 2 different ways you can do it. One is you can get dropped off and at the square, so you can like go to Lake Sumter Landing. They pick you up there. They take you straight. Well, I think they stop at Brownwood, and then you go straight to the airport. And then on the way home, stop at Brownwood, do Lake Sumter. But you got to find your own way back from Sumter, obviously.
Or you
The
could leave
door to
your car in the
door is
parking
the
lot.
one that's the brutal one, and it's because they're dropping everybody off at everybody's home, and they've got vans like 8 people or whatever. And if you've got 8 singles, that's 8 houses. a little bit much for me. Veterans. So we have a lot of veterans, as we established, and there are a lot of veteran groups here. So we've got a VFW close.
The Korean War, the Vietnam War, Jewish veterans, disabled vets. Very, very patriotic here. Yeah,
It is. It is. And we have a veterans hospital-ish, not really a hospital, it's like an outpatient thing, I think, but it's up on 42, like at the most northern section of the Villages, up by like Mulberry up there in
Right,
that area. And so I think that if you have care through the VA and you need to like see a actual VA doctor or whatever, like usually you got to go to a base and stuff.
Right.
I think you can go there for outpatient services. And I don't think that's a hospital at all, but I think you can see them for different things that you can do outpatient stuff for. So, but that is our big fat book,
Big fat book.
the Villages Bible, I guess. It gives you a lot of information about
Yeah.
everything Villages. So I don't know, Jan was asking, well, can we get another one of these if somebody wanted to order one? I would reach out to the Daily Sun and ask them. I'm assuming that they probably printed a million of them and they probably have extras, but
Right. I mean, because our paper's on hold right now because we've been in and out so much. So I hate to bother them by, we were home 3 days, now we're gone. So I've just waited till we're done with all this traveling. And so I missed the book.
But to be
It's on the
fair,
boat.
the Daily Sun is really good about that. I have to say, they're really good. You could turn it off and on every other day.
Yeah,
Not
and
that that would be a good idea,
Very
but
gracious also, because
they
sometimes I feel guilty when I even
Yeah.
write to them. You can call them or email them
yep,
to pause when you're leaving, when you're coming back. Sometimes I just feel bad.
yeah. But they are good about doing
Yeah.
it. So,
Good-
but
good
anyway,
paper.
hopefully something in there helps you, something you didn't know before. And
I learned a lot.
So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you the next time.